So after you start to get in your mind that you're really kind of focused first on matching the value, then the next thing that you'll do is you're gonna start on the color wheel where you think you should be. So for example, what I mean by this is if we're gonna start with this background here, and we're gonna start with the background because that's the easiest color to start with here. Then just start on the color wheel where you think it's the closest. So if we literally hold the color wheel up to this, then it's obviously going to be somewhere in the red-orange color. Let's go right over here. So when I'm holding this picture up, I'm noticing that this is a pretty close match right here. So that's the first step of color mixing, is start on the color wheel and try to get as close as you can to the value of that color. So we're starting with orange and we're going to darken it down with blue or black. So we can darken colors with either blue or black. So let's just get started here. And I'm literally going to paint on this photo. So I know I'm gonna start with kind of a red-orange, so I'm just gonna grab some CAD red light over here, and what I'll do, I'll just mix right over here to the side, close to this photo so we can see. Okay, so obviously this is gonna be too intense, all right? So if the color is, if you're finding yourself saying, well, it's just too orange, it's just, when I put that color on there, it's just too orange. Okay, so if you're saying it's too orange or too green or too blue, then that means it's too intense. And the opposite of intense is dull. So how we dull a color is we're gonna take its complement and we're gonna add in the complement to that color to dull it. So what's the complementary color to orange? Complementary colors are on the opposite side of the color wheel. So we've got orange and we've got blue. So let's take some blue, just a little bit, and we're gonna dull this color. And luckily, we can darken with blue also. So we are darkening and we're dulling at the same time. Okay, so now when I mix this, it's getting a little bit closer. So now you're asking yourself, all right, what value is it? Now, it's either going to be too dark or too light when you're talking about values. So it's a little too dark, so I can lighten with yellow or white. So I'm just going to try a dot of white first. Still too dark. Let's try to lighten with some yellow. Getting a little bit closer. Still a little bit too orangey. When I compare it, the paint is a little bit more orange than the background, so I'm going to dull it a little bit more with some more blue. And it's still too dark. Actually, it's very, very close. Like, if I just really hold this up and we look at this. Okay, now another way that we can adjust this color value is by adding gray. If you ever have trouble getting a color to dull down, a simple trick is to take a little bit of gray and gray it down slightly. So I was just seeing there's a little bit of gray in that mixture. Now it's getting very close, but it's just slightly too dark. So I'm gonna lighten this up a little bit. A little more. It's getting a little bit too chalky, so I'm going to add some yellow back into it. So now I am very, very close to where these colors are supposed to be. Now, if I come right over here, I'm a little bit too light and a little bit too yellow. So I'm gonna need to put, if it's too yellow and I need to go back towards the orange direction on the color wheel, then I'm gonna put back in some orange. And then I'll need to darken again. Darken and dull. All right, so now I'm right over here and this color is almost matching just what I need. So if I start coming over a little farther this way, I'm definitely gonna start to darken with my dark grays. Okay, now I'm putting this down there and noticing it's a little bit too grayish. It's too cool. Gray is naturally a cool color, so I can add a little bit more red to it. Whoops, I meant to do that right here. Eek. And so now as I put more red into it, because I thought it looked more red, that's where my finger just rubbed off the ink. So now I'm getting pretty darn close. Actually, it's right on the money. Like, that is just right where it needs to be. I don't know what's up with this picture. Look, my fingers are just taking off all of that ink off the photo. I've never had that happen before with a home print. I don't know if it's this type of glossy paper or if it's the Kodak ink. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's try another color in the background. Basically what we did here is we matched the value first. You get as close as you can to the value and then you bump it in the direction on the color wheel that you think it needs to go. So as I was over here in this dark area, it looked too cool gray and I thought, you know, the picture looked more red than what my paint was. So I just bumped it in the red direction on the color wheel by simply adding a little bit of red to the mixture, and that got me, you know, right where I needed to be, right here. So it's going to be the same with any other color that you do. We're going to come over here and let's try to match this background color right here, which to me, if we hold it up to the color wheel, because that's the first step, okay? So if I'm looking here, yellow is too yellow, and orange is too orange. So I know that I'm gonna need to start somewhere in a yellow-orange mixture, and then I'll make adjustments from there. It looks like it's a little bit slightly a red-orange, maybe, but not so bright, maybe a little bit duller. And so what I'll do is just start with a red-orange, which is Cad Red Light, and it has a lot more yellow in it this time. So we're going over here and gonna get a yellow-orange color. Okay, so that's where I'm at on the color wheel. We'll bring our color wheel right here where we can see. Okay, we're somewhere right here in the yellow-orange color. And if we put it right on the picture, it almost matches, but I find myself saying, well, it's just a little too yellow-orange. It's a little too bright. I could dull it down with a complementary color or gray it down with some gray. So I think I will go ahead and use a little bit of purple because I'm more over here in the yellow-orange, and so if I go across the wheel to a complement, I've got kind of a violet purple. So I'm just going to take a dot. I don't think I need much. All right, so I've dulled it, but now it's a little bit too dark. So I can either lighten with white or yellow. So I'm just going to take some white here. Still a little dark. Okay, so now as I'm working, let me zoom in here a little bit. Now as I'm working, I find myself saying, well, it's too yellow. So I need to color bump it back to the orange side. Okay, if I'm saying it's too yellow, then I'm going to bump it back this direction on the color wheel. So that means I need to pick up a little bit of orange again. And that is just pretty darn close. Now I have matched it. All right, so let's recap on the basics of color mixing. You want to try to start out on the color wheel as best you can where the actual color fits. Okay, where does it fit on the color wheel? After that, you want to match the value as close as you can. You can either lighten with yellow or white, or you can darken with either blue or black or brown. You can also darken with brown. So you want to get the value as close as you can. After that, you're going to color bump it. So when you're testing out your little swatches, then just ask yourself, is it to this or is it to that? And whatever you're saying, it's too yellow, for example, go in the direction on the color wheel where you think it needs to go. So locate your color on the color wheel first, then match your values, darken with blue or black, or lighten with yellow and white, and then bump it in the right direction on the color wheel. Keep making those adjustments as you mix your color. So that's the basics of how you're going to get to the color. I will tell you, it takes a little time at first, but once you get this down, you'll find that the more and more you paint, you'll be able to mix these colors really quickly.